Today on Corona Perch, we introduce the podcast, we introduce ourselves, and we start talking. Let's get into it.
That's us.
Intro.
We're gonna have a little.
Intro.
Yeah, we're gonna have a live band. Okay.
We'll have a live band. Yeah, they'll be right over there.
Yeah.
We'll do a little thing, and then, anyways, welcome to Corona Perch and the Existential Cowboy in the Ever-Growing Voyage with the Deadly Cloak and Eternal Dread Phase 1. I am one of your hosts, Liam Fletcher, joined by our other one host, Eric Alsbury.
Hello.
And here we
Crow
are.
on a perch for short, just so
Crow
you know.
on a Perch for short. That's how you'll find us on our socials.
Yes, that's how I'll be saying it.
Yeah, so what are we doing today here, Eric? What's going on? What's the scoop?
I mean, like, in all honesty, we've been prepping for this episode for so long now.
Oh, we've done so many tries
like
and tests.
Oh my gosh, we have so many like test episodes, so many mock like shorts, and we weren't really anticipating recording today. But I kind of just said, Liam, go get the fancy shirt you want to wear. Let's just do it.
This is you wanted me to wear this shirt, first of all. Second of all,
Get the fancy shirt.
yeah, we sort of just decided that this is supposed to be more candid and
It's a fun podcast.
it's a fun podcast, but it's also, I would say the purpose of this podcast as well is to sort of talk with artists and sort of go over, some mistakes they've made, how they've recovered from it, how they've gone forward, and how they succeeded. We're going to do some stuff like that, aren't we?
Yeah, and you know what? Like what I've been explaining to people and how I've said on the past episodes we've tried to do, and just the way I like to call this podcast is it's an audio-visual diary of what we were doing with All's Cherry. And a good way to, show truthfulness, what we're doing, what we're all about, our mistakes, our triumphs, and helping people out with it. Not that we're all knowing, but when you can embrace the fact that you're just a human and just do your thing. That's how it is. And this is kind of our way to express that.
Yeah, in a sense, we're doing like a fireside chat where you just get to sit with us every couple of weeks. We'll talk about what we're doing, what's coming up, how we're doing, bring some guests on. It's going to be great.
Oh, it's going to be awesome guests. Like, it's just going to be sick. There are a couple in particular that are good friends of ours. One's a tattoo artist and the other's a gallery painter. I won't say names yet, just in case. But you never know.
Coming up
soon. But yeah, so, initially we thought this would be more of like it is an organized thing, but a lot of us all love podcasts that are kind of not on a whim, but more so just you're just being you, So that's kind of I think what we're tackling today. So,
So Eric, who are you?
who am I anyway? I'm okay. Well, to start, this is the All's Cherry podcast, or it's All's Cherry podcast that you never know, we might do more.
We might do
but
more.
Crow on the Perch. Crow on the Perch is something that Liam and I came up with. We went to Victoria, BC for a while. We're from Ontario. So we went there. One thing led to another. We saw a crow somewhere at one point. He was following us. Dude, he was on a perch, and it followed us everywhere. Everywhere we went was this friggin' crow. And we were just discussing making a podcast at one point. And that's kind of where the name came from. But so All's Cherry, really, it's a community effort. It's a community-based project where people just come together to make something special. And, so I guess to talk about myself, I'll talk about what I'm doing right now, Liam's doing, and what I'm doing. But I'm working on a collaborative book right now called the All's Cherry Anthology. So I'm a comic book artist working with a bunch of artists to make a comic book for all of us to make together. It's going to be really cool. Working on some other stuff in like the fashion industry, working with music. I'm a musician, guitar player, bass player. And I'm a painter as well. I don't paint as much anymore. There's one right there, actually, based around Ziggy Stardust, one of the best albums ever made. But yeah, musician, painter, comic book artist, working with people. So a lot of projects on the go with All's Cherry and myself. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. But you'll learn a lot about me over the course of this podcast in general. So who the hell are you anyway?
Yeah.
Like, who's this dude with the red shirt?
Well, me. Oh, okay, first.
What?
Bag on the table.
The bag on the table.
Here.
Oh, your bag on the table. Oh, shoot. We were too candid. You left your bag on the table. Restart, we can cut it.
And welcome to a brilliantly engineered cut. Now
We're totally candid here. We didn't cut anything.
Yep. We are editing our videos.
You blinked.
Incredibly heavily.
You blinked and you missed it.
The bag disappeared from the table. Ooh, a magic.
There was never
so
a bag.
Who am I? I'm right now I'm finishing my undergrad in philosophy. I'm starting to work in doing some 3D printing stuff. That's to come. There's a future announcement that'll come later that I'm very excited about. I'm mostly the one who's taking the charge of the podcast and organizing it and making sure that all this stuff is happening
Yeah, you are.
because
Because I'm tired.
Eric's
Because I'm tired.
Eric's got too much stuff to
I
do.
do too much.
Eric-
It's unbelievable.
One of the reasons why I'm here is because there's so much stuff that Eric can't do, and it's just
I could
no,
try.
I'm doing it.
I just don't want
You
to.
could try, but he'll like just not sleep, and I want him to sleep.
I don't
occasionally.
sleep anyway.
Ugh.
Sleep is boring and a waste of time. Am I right, folks? Please sleep. So you should sleep.
Yeah, sleep. Don't
hate
be
it,
like
though.
him. He's a vampire. I swear
Yeah.
he's tried to siphon my blood more than once.
Uh-huh. That shirt was white at one point. It's not anymore. Anyways,
Oh, well, isn't that perspective?
yes.
Anyways, moving on. Well, are we gonna?
Well, like, is that all about you, really?
Yeah,
Liam 3D prints stuff and does my dirty work.
Yeah,
That's what you are
That's what I do.
to me.
I think that more about me will come out more candidly as the
Of course.
podcast goes on.
Yeah. Well, hey,
don't-
I mean,
I think that's what I have to say for now. I'm interested to get into our topic.
it's. And what would you like to talk about in particular?
I think I'd like to talk about one of our big goals for this podcast.
Mhm.
And I would say that's being very open about mistakes
Embracing mistakes.
And
They're so
failure.
important.
and failure.
Please, you should fail.
Yes, not fail. We don't want you to fail.
Of course not.
But we want you to have failures
Unless
that
you're a
you can
competitor.
learn from.
Yes.
And I think that's a very important thing as an artist and as just a person in general. I sort of have this idea that we're going to be talking with artists about their their mistakes, what they've had to recover from, what they've had to work through. But I think that's a lesson that we can all learn from, even if we aren't a specific type of artist, even if we aren't a musician, even if we're from a different discipline of art, we can learn from each other. And that's
course,
part
yeah.
of one of the reasons why we've started Ultra is that we want
Yep.
to promote this community where we can work together. Even if we're on different things, we can bounce ideas off each other, and we can work with each other on technique and all these sorts of things.
Well, that's exactly it too, and mistake is a big one, especially because, and I'll have a guest on at one point. I say I'll because I've been talking with them about it. We will have a guest on,
We'll have a guess.
of course. But there's a person I was speaking with, an artist, friend of both of ours, gallery painter. Big mistakes are they're frowned upon, and yet, depending where you are, they are smiled upon. And yet, I feel like it isn't emphasized enough. Like, I swear.
Yeah, and if we want to get more into it, I don't have the research to back it or any research to really talk about it, but it feels like, in my view, there's this notion in our society that you should always try to do things right the first time, so you're not wasting time, so you can make more money, so you can do this and that, and you can be more productive and all of this. But it doesn't leave room for being human.
Well, and what's so weird is, like I said, people say to embrace mistake, but what you just said is like you have to get it right the first time. It's not even like there's a spoken word for that. It's just social media is a big one because you see people that are perfect and they've got it ready to go, and you don't know what they've done to get there.
You see
or how
all of-
easy or hard it was.
Exactly.
It's the surface level.
You see all of this success, and then you go and try to have this success for yourself.
Yeah.
You do this for 5 or 6 days, a month, 2 months, maybe even a year. You
Yep.
still keep seeing people with success, and
Mhm.
you don't get there, and then you get discouraged. What we want to perhaps instill and maybe have bigger discussions about is that when you work in art, you shouldn't be thinking about. You can obviously think about the end goal.
Yeah.
But if the end goal is what your main goal is, then maybe you should rethink how you're approaching your art.
That's a good one, and I'll bring up a book that I read a little bit of it, not fully. I know some people have read the full thing. It's called The Gap and the Gain. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. If you haven't, you should definitely check it out. I can get it on Amazon. But it explains that, I can't even get it here. I'll give an example with the guitar. This is the gain. This is where you are, and this is the gap, right? So my goal here is we're building up All's Cherry.
Yep.
We started here, or you can even just say the podcast is here. We're starting here. We get halfway there, and all we can think about is the gain, like the end.
Yep.
Right? But why can't we think about the gap as to how we got there, right?
Yeah.
So, or sorry, I said it wrong. You're stuck in the gap. You want to think in anyway, it's
Sure.
yeah, I read a little bit of it, but either way, what it's trying to say is you shouldn't be looking at that end goal all the time. You should be looking at what you've done to achieve, like what you've achieved to get to where you are. Like, for example, like this podcast isn't perfect. It took us a while to get it set up
It
too.
took us a while, and this first episode is going to have lots of kinks. We're
Frig.
falling all over our words. We're stumbling a little bit.
But I want to embrace that because
Yeah.
why? I'm not perfect. I talk like this, you know? And that's a big one. And you know what actually is a good example is today you were working on your 3D printing stuff. Some creator stuff that you want to do soon with some videography stuff. And I remember you said when we were leaving, we were at the Starbucks. We were at the local Starbucks working. And you got up and you went, this is going to be a lot of work. Like, you had this idea and you were like, yeah, let's do it. And then you went down to do it and you were like, oh, shoot, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you could have been too busy looking at that end goal and gone, I can't do that.
But
or
I'm
you can
excited.
look at where you've gotten.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm very excited. It's the thing is when you get to the point where you see a goal that you're super excited to approach, that's like very long term and it's going
Yeah.
to take a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of trial and error, but you're willing to stick with it. I think that's something that's very valuable to chase.
A good I'm totally about to plug the website because I'm proud of it. allscherrycomics.com, ALLSCHERRY comics.com. Go look at it. I mean, I don't know if it'll probably still be up.
We'll put
when-
a little banner below
Sure.
showing it.
Yeah.
We'll edit that in for you, Eric.
I
Don't
coded
worry.
that myself,
Yep.
with very little help. Some help, but very little help. Back end stuff, whatever. I did have help with that by our lovely website developer. But at the start of it, I did it all myself, and I didn't know how to do any of HTML stuff. I actually did it with React, if anyone knows what that means. And it's a good example. Is I sat down and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make this site. It's gonna look so cool. I designed all of it. I have all the colors and stuff, and blah blah blah. And I went, wow, this sucks. I don't ever want to do this ever again.
And he said, wow, I just deleted my entire hard drive by accident.
Okay. Well, I'll tell this. I was using GitHub. It's a bad story, but I'm going to tell it. I was using GitHub, and I had it set. I don't even know what happened, but it wanted to commit 10,000 changes, 10,000 plus changes, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. What the hell? So I'm scrolling through it, and I'm like, there's nothing important in here. I'm seeing like small files I don't really need to care about and whatever. I'll just delete it all. So I clicked discard changes, and I remember it saying, are you sure? Because you can't undo this. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. I scrolled through it. I clicked it, and my iMac just went black. And I was so angry. Oh, man.
I just remember.
I know my web developer is watching or listening to this right now, and he's laughing so hard.
I just remember like seeing the message that
Oh my
morning that
God.
she sent it to me, and I was just like, "Oh no!" I immediately came over, and it was just like I came over to console you.
I was going to cry. And you know what? Here's two big lessons to take from that is one, I didn't stop. Go check out the website. It's up. My iMac's fine.
It looks great.
I worked really hard on it. I'm really proud of it. But another lesson to take from this is you're going to lose. Like you are, but that doesn't mean you can't win later. Or you can. It's always that you can lose the battle, but you can win the war.
There's, line from Aerosmith. You have to lose to know how to win.
Well, but that's the thing. And I took a hard loss so much. I'm a comic book artist. I have 2 series out right now: Wendy and the Sprite and Overflow. I have 3 Wendy's and 1 Overflow. It was all gone. Like all my art was gone. All my files were gone. All my code was gone. Even my small stuff was gone. Like stuff that like just drawings or whatever, games. And I was defeated, absolutely defeated. But that's the other big lesson you can learn from this is you can't let that stuff define you.
Yeah.
Because my definition of me is not this podcast. It's not Wendy and the Sprite. It's not whatever. It's just me. I'm me. And
Yeah.
You can't get rid of me. So when I lost, it sucked. But I got back up because what else am I gonna do? Fix it. You know, and we did. It's hard, and I that's the big thing we want to show on this podcast is to highlight these mistakes. Don't be embarrassed by them.
Yeah.
Be proud of them because it sucked.
Well,
It sucked.
I mean, I wouldn't be proud of like deleting your entire hard drive, but I would
I
definitely
did it on
say like
purpose.
being able to own your own mistakes
Sure.
and say that I did this. It sucks, but I'm going to work through it, and I'm going to come out the other end stronger, and I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to know to back up my hard
Yes,
drive.
I learned to buy iCloud storage and get a 2 terabyte hard drive.
But that's sort of part of the
External.
point, is that we want to talk about these things, because being able to talk about all of this, it's a part of the artistic process that I think is very undervalued, and it's very sort of pushed off to the side. And it's even just when it comes to process nowadays, it sort of feels like, especially, well, we can talk about education later, but you're so afraid to fail because you need the grades to get to school, and
That's another big
you
one.
you need grades and all of that. And yeah,
That's another big one though, is that time constraint. And at least here in Canada, for what we've had to deal with and blah blah blah, just 'cause we don't know where you're listening from. How old are you? 22?
21.
You're 20. Oh yeah, you are. You're 21 and you've got one more year left of school.
Yep.
You have been in school for so long.
Yep.
We start school at 5 years
4.
old. 4, you're right. You're in it so long, and you're put in this world of expectation and deadlines and learning things you didn't even want to learn. I hated high school. I really did. I blacked out for most of it. I'm glad some people like it because I didn't. Things that I had to do.
It's more you don't remember.
I don't remember a lot of high school. I swear. I just blacked it out of my brain because I disliked it. There were things I had to do that I didn't like doing, and it really discouraged me. And I remember when I went to post-secondary for 2 years to do some art. I went to an art school, not college or anything, but I went to an art school. I was so art blocked. It was unbelievable. And I had no clue what I wanted to do. I wasn't a comic artist at this point. I was an illustrator. I still am. Painter, learning to paint even better. I was so blocked. And just all of I was so over school. I was so over the projects, the time constraints. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, you know. And a lot of people let that put them down.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, and even just people who graduate and they're out and they're like, oh my God, I just want to sit. And I don't blame them. Or they feel lost because it's just how many, 20, 15 years, 16 years of your life.
Oh, more than that.
More than that. That it's just, you're doing that, right? And then you're lost or you're artist blocked or you're whatever. And I don't know. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And absolutely. And I think something I will eventually want to talk about in the future, just not right now, because I'm not very well versed on it yet. I haven't done a lot of research, but just talking about the education system.
He's big on that. You are big on figuring that out.
I'm very big on, I want to study the philosophy of education a lot more than I have right now, because I think there are different ways to learn that have certain advantages and disadvantages that might help with this shifting world that we have, because we have a very different world. And there are some good things about the education system that we have right now. It's important to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But I think there are also maybe we could have a hybrid system where certain things happen in certain areas, but there are different grading scales for maybe the arts or something like that, right?
There are ways to change it up because it's not education that's bad. Learning is so friggin' important, and I love learning. And it's just the way, at least here, it's done is very differently.
I would say definitely I would want to get some academics here on the podcast.
Oh, of course.
That's something I'm working on right now, is getting some maybe some of my fellow students, maybe some other educated guests, maybe even a professor or two. Who knows? We'll see how it goes.
Of course. Oh yeah. Well, we have a lot of people, and that's the other big
excited.
thing. All's Cherry is very varied. It's very varied. Like I said, we're working with people in fashion. I am not fashion at all. I wear a band shirt every day. That's about it.
I look pretty good.
He looks pretty good right now.
Yeah, right now.
You don't see him off the podcast. Anyways, yeah, I just totally ripped on you. Anyways,
yeah,
we do a lot of different things. Philosophy is one of the most important aspects of art and the world, in my opinion, and that's why Liam is here. And that's the thing, is people might not see that as an art. Fashion we're working with. I know people in film, music, blah blah blah. So
music,
yeah, we're gonna have
blah blah.
Music and blah blah blah.
Visual arts,
blah
writing.
blah blah. There's a lot, and we're gonna have a lot of different people on here and a lot of different aspects. So I mean, in all honesty, if there's stuff you guys want to see, you can just tell us. Like seriously, there's so many different kinds of things.
Reach out to us. Here's our email at the bottom, just right there. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. We are genuinely very happy, and we love to interact with you guys.
Oh my gosh, it's the whole point.
All of you are so creative.
We've met a lot of cool people along the way. It's just crazy.
And this is where one of our things as All's Cherry as a community is that we just want to connect with people, and we want to see the genius and the creativity and I remember you told me that one of the reasons why you wanted to found All's Cherry was because you're going to go to some sort of con in Toronto, I think it was, and you looked up Toronto artists, and all you saw were pictures of Spider-Man, like fan arts of Spider-Man.
There are two big reasons All's Cherry came to mind. It was one is at least in fine arts, like in illustration, fan art has absolutely dominated illustration. It's unbelievable. And I mean, it's a good way to make money, and there are a lot of skillful people out there. I'm not denoting that they're good artists. It's
Yeah.
just I'm a big fan of wholly original work. I love when someone can be able to make something so unique and different.
It changes the game.
It changes so much,
Yeah.
even if it's just the art style. If the story is generic and the art style is great, or vice versa. It's just there's so many talented people out there, and there's a lot of people who are talented. I don't think they direct their talent to a spot that at least I think is important to art, is something that changes the game, like you said.
Yeah.
And not that everyone needs to be a game changer, but in all honesty, the amount of people I've met who are game changing, it's just crazy. The people in the All Cherry Anthology, every single story in there it's original, it's
they're-
cool, the art style is interesting, their storytelling's great, they're wonderful people.
We are very excited to bring the anthology out.
Oh, it's going to be cool. And we'll have them on as guests. The book will be done. So today's July 20-something. Ish.
Late July.
Yeah, we're going to, by the end of August, the book will be done. We're aiming for around like September 1st or something like that.
Maybe, yeah, like an early September launch. We
Yeah,
don't-
so the book will be done then, and you guys can check it out. But that was the other thing, too, is Liam and I have done some Comic-Cons. Liam's never done Comic-Cons before.
I never
until
ran a
this
booth,
year.
at least.
Yeah, he never ran a booth until this year. This is my second year doing it. I've been in the game for a while, but I hadn't really done any booths. But that was what scared me when I went into art, was not just what do I do, but seeing these people who would draw, let's say, Spider-Man, and they made so much money. And that's all they did. All they had to do was fan art. And I'm like, and even then, I could be wrong. This could just be social media's mask of me thinking they're that successful, and they really aren't. You never know. But either way, I saw it, and I'm like, I don't want to draw fan art. I really don't. And this was when I was just getting into comic books to create myself. And I was like, where's everyone else? Like, is anyone else doing something new? And I couldn't find anybody until I hit Comic-Con. And there were like
Right.
10 indie comic artists. And I'm like, they're all different. Not a single fan art in sight. And even if they did, it was a quick little print they made just for fun. That's great. I was like, where were you? And every Comic-Con we did, even the one you and I just did, I met new people. And I'm like, where have these people been? And they might be marketing. That's great. The world is very large.
Mhm.
But that was the big thing for All's Cherry, was they're everywhere. These skillful, talented people. Bring them in one spot for us to work with. You know, like, where are all these people? Well, they're right here now. All's Cherry. Throw them in a frickin' pot. Stir it up.
Check out all these original works that are just jaw-droppingly amazing because of how much effort and talent has been put into developing these unique and original stories that have never been told before. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not even never told before, but maybe they're retellings. But who knows? It's something-
amazing work.
It's something that has been very not seen before.
Yeah.
That was very awkward phrasing, but yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. And like I said,
Who's ever said that before, huh?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
You did, Red Shirt Man.
Yeah, I did.
But it's just, yeah, it's having them in one spot, because then it helps. It doesn't help just them, but it helps everyone else. You can find people. You can promote your work with everybody. You can work together on something. We're doing this anthology right now. It's really cool how it all kind of mixes together. But that's the point, right? It's the community.
Yeah.
And we're in southwestern Ontario, so that's where we're kind of starting. We are branching out to Victoria. I know, a weird jump to BC, but we have people in BC we know. And we want to expand through Canada. You know, just bring people around. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that goal there, and that's what we're up to currently.
Yeah,
But-
I would say that's right about where we are right now. We're working on the anthology. We're starting the podcast now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be here.
Liam has been so pumped to get this going.
We're-
Like, it's unbelievable.
I just remember like we were having all those audio issues, and I was just like, but now it's all worth it. We
I
got
just
here.
remember designing the logo. We were at a cafe in Victoria, and I would go there every morning. We were there on vacation for about a week or so, and every single morning I'd get up early and I'd be there for 4 hours working on whatever.
I'd show up like maybe
You'd show up
an hour
hours later.
I would show up
Yeah.
an hour later. I'd remember hearing the door close, and I was like, all right, Eric's off to the cafe.
Yep, and I would get some work done. Logo was made, plans were planned out, whatever. Shoot, that feels like so long ago. That was in May,
Yep.
which is crazy. That only how many months now, and we're this far. And that's what we want to be transparent about. Is, you know, you got to keep going at it.
Yeah, it takes what we're doing is going to be a lot of work, and that's why we want to share every sort of step of the way as much as we can about what we've been doing with
Yeah.
all of you, because this is a learning process for us too. We're going to make a lot of mistakes, and we want.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things I've learned.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, and stuff I've screwed up, and things I didn't know existed. And that's another cool aspect, is reaching out to people that you work with, friends that we have from high school or from post-secondary, whatever, and being able to use their talents as well. Not even just in arts.
Or let them show what they can do, and it's very awesome that they are so enthusiastic to help us with this, and I'm eternally grateful for their help because we don't know everything.
No, and we are okay to say that we don't know everything. And you know what? I had a hard time with that. I think before even Victoria and a little after, was thinking I had to do everything myself, and that was where Liam kind of jumped in and said, like, let's go, because I shouldn't have to do everything myself. And not that I need to put all the work on you, but for example, like, I designed the website, the landing page, but we're working on the huge site, which is another huge All's Cherry thing, to be able to bring everyone together in this one spot and to kind of work together, blah, blah, blah. But my sister's boyfriend is helping me make that, because his back-end coding is phenomenal. And I was trying to do it myself, and my brain was rotting. It was just, I was like, I can do CSS, I can do some simple HTML. I don't want to do all this stuff. And then he was like, yeah, let's do it. And he was so on it. And I'm like, yes. Like, people are just so ready to be able to use their talents they're passionate about. And it's not like we're exploiting them. We're here to, that's not the point. The point is all of us working together to make something really cool.
Well,
and that's why they're so excited.
We're just so happy that we can give them a dream that they can also be passionate about. Our dream. That they can be excited that this is happening and that they can be a part of it. That's for us. We just want a happy community.
Yeah. We, I believe on the landing page, or at least on my Instagram and the link tree, there is, we have a newsletter, comes out bi-weekly every Saturday, every other Saturday at 9. And you can be spotlit on there as an artist. You guys can interact with our threads. We have a threads account. We kind of just play around on to be able to ask questions, very important questions.
Yeah.
You can apply to be in the anthology. We'll be doing those annually. Shoot, we're going to be doing stuff with the podcast now. Like, this is all about you guys reaching out to us.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to stop that. That's the whole point.
Yeah, we'll keep the content coming, but if you have any suggestions, please let us know.
Yeah.
Once again, email below.
So what do you think?
I think that's just about good.
Keep on going. I think we did it for a solid 35.
I think we're pretty good. I think
that's right.
I think we're fine to wrap it up there.
We tried to make this really, like, it's so hard when you think you want to make a podcast and you're going through all the stuff. We ended up having to buy a new camera when we thought we had a good one. These mics were a little weird to get going, but we got them going.
Yep.
Had to get a new mixer, all this stuff.
We just got our mixer today.
We just got the mixer today. We just got some cords. We had the specific HDMI cord we needed that we, for some reason, we had a roundabout way of getting originally, and it sucked, blah, blah, blah. But we were going to make it very organized, whatever. But things kind of change, and the whole point is change, embracing change, mistakes, candidness, having fun. So we didn't really go for much of a time, more so just keep going till we're done.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting balance, because, you know, we want to make something that's entertaining for all of you out there. We want, you know, we're not just going to try to talk like inside jokes and giggle and whatever. We want to try to bring something to you that's like, that maybe you will find useful, or something that you can chew on or process or whatever. But we also want to be able to talk about
chew on.
Yeah,
I liked that.
It's I like that word.
I don't like thinking of our audience as cows just sitting there and like gnawing on grass.
No, it's not like cows.
I know, I'm just joking.
For me, it's sort of just like, you know, you got this really nice piece of roast beef,
and it's the podcast.
And
you just take a huge crunch.
And you just go like,
and you eat like a cow. And you stare at the screen.
And you sort of process it. You know,
and it goes into one of your stomachs.
Wow, this is definitely going. It's definitely one of the shorts that we're using to promote the show.
Yes, putting me talking about our audience like cows and eating us and putting us in one of their stomachs.